All right, welcome in everybody here at the Hamin Media Group. That is youtube.com/at Hamin Media Group. Hey, those of you that are regulars with us, the HMG. I'm that owner of the B2B, Richard Bronson Vickrey. Tonight we have got a very special treat for you here, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be coming up for you at 7 p.m. We're going to have a little bit of fun here on a pre-show portion, though, but it is promoting Pro Wrestling 101 with one of the true greats in the business here, Mr. Big Tom Williams. He's always shaking his head. He doesn't like the praise, but he's going to get plenty of it. I'm sure he's going to hear it from the chat as they join us here. Tom, without officially saying hello yet, as again we were going to spend a little time here letting everybody familiarize themselves with you. Let the chat fill up. But how are you doing this evening?
I'm good, man.
At home,
I'm good.
alone.
I had a little bit of a sinus infection, like I told you prior to us going live. Whatever, I got a cough drop in my mouth or whatever. So, but other than that, I'm doing good, man. You know, but yeah, I mean, I seen you post earlier on social media talking about legendary, dude. Like, come on, man, that ain't that serious.
Well, hey, for so many of those out there, you said sometimes it wows you with people that are like, well, oh, you're the guy from War, you know, and how much War has traveled. The little promotion that could out of Lima, Ohio, right there, you know, right in the heart of it all. But yeah, you sell yourself short. You've worked with Impact Wrestling, the Arnold Classic, Square Circle Expo, so many more. But tonight, you know, it's about the experience, the resume that you've compiled there. Again, promoting Pro Wrestling 101. It's a live Q&A. Anything goes about the business side, about being, you know, that top dog there in the owner's booth. If you're out there, maybe you're interested in promoting. Maybe you're running shows now looking to take it to the next level to find more success. Maybe you're just one of those fans that's interested in how the business works. That's where you're going to find it right here, ladies and gentlemen. We have got the chat room open. We are live on YouTube. We're streaming at multiple places there on Facebook. First and foremost, if you're joining us right now, we've got about a dozen or so waiting to go with us. If you could, give us a like, give us a share, copy those links, get us across all social media. We want to get as many people here joining us. It's going to be a very interactive night of conversation, entertaining conversation. Again, nothing off the table, from balancing your books to managing talent to talking with sponsors, promoting the shows, working with your crew. There's so much to cover here, but we're going to try to touch a little bit of it all for you. Any of your questions, again, nothing off the table. If you'd like to join us on air, you can. If you'll leave us a comment over in the chat.
Yeah, I don't feel like looking at my ugly mug all night.
Hey, we've got plenty of room. We can bring come on air with us and join the conversation. But we do realize a lot of people feel more comfortable just using the keyboards in the chat room. We'll get those comments up on the screen for you to include you in it. And again, you know, Tom's going to be it. If there's one thing that I've known after getting, you know, the honor, the pleasure of meeting you over all these years, getting to know you, you might be the realest thing in pro wrestling, Big Tom.
I try to be. Well, I mean, me and you've talked about it, you know, like, you know, pro wrestling to me, you're already going into it with a con to a degree, you know. So, you know, I'm just not one to blow smoke up people's butts, you know, like, you know, I'm just not that guy. I mean, I'm just, you know, I'm real. I felt like I've, you know, earned, you know, some of my success and a whole lot of my failures over the years. But, you know, like me and you talked prior to this, you know, there is no handbook on being an owner, a promoter, and a booker, you know. So, you know, if I can shed a little bit of light and give people maybe a perspective, or even, you know, like you said, you know, open it up. You know, maybe someone has a question about something that, you know, they want to know. You know, I'm all about helping people now, you know. I mean, if I can make, you know, pro wrestling a little bit better on the independent scene, I'm all for that. You know, I tell people pro wrestling on the independent scene is the good, the bad, and the ugly, and we're all grouped together. So, you know, and you're only as strong as the weakest link in that chain. So, you know, that little guy who's thinking about running a show, who, you know, has $5,000 to play with or whatever, you know, it's smart to book, whoever, you know what I mean? Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Coco Beware and whoever, you know what I mean? Like, it's just smart to do that, you know, or, you know, pay $2,000 for the building and you also got to give them all the concessions. You know what I mean? Like, been there, done that. So, that's the thing, like little things like that, but, just, a lot of people don't know, like, it's a grind, you know what I mean? Like, me and you talked about it, like a lot of the newer fans that follow us and even the newer wrestlers that follow us, they don't realize that we've been around for 21 years. And, if I look back at our very first show from a presentation standpoint to now, you know what I mean? Like, I would consider what we did of our very first show would be backyard wrestling. You know what I mean? Like, it was a black curtain with, a little, sound system with two little tiny speakers and, very, very little lights. And, the presentation wasn't there. And, so we've kind of gotten better with that over the years. But, there hasn't never been any instant gratification where we could just go out and spend all this money to get a better sound system or to get this or to get that. It's been piece by piece over the last 20 years. And granted, the past 3 or 4 years, we've done really, really well and really, really upgraded our end of it or whatever. But, a lot of people are there for the success or they see the success. They weren't there the previous 15 years. You know what I mean? So, yeah, like I said, when me and you talked about this, you jumped at the idea. And I really, really wanted to do it because, I have stood the test of time. I mean, 21 years of promoting shows. We've promoted over 550 shows in 21 years. And I've handled every aspect of the show. You know what I mean? Like, at the beginning, I was an on-air talent or whatever. I was a manager. And then, I was also the promoter, the owner, and the booker. And I've held that job for 20 years, of doing that. A lot of people are like, you're the promoter, the owner, and the booker. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, man, how do you do it? But what they don't realize is I also do all the setup and teardown. You know what I mean? So I've done every single aspect of the show from the top to the bottom so I think this will open up a lot of people's eyes, and I think it may shed some light on to some people that got questions or concerns. I'm not the only one out there that has this knowledge, or I would say that. I mean, there's some guys that I truly love and respect in pro wrestling. But I think it, could be a gateway to a lot of things or whatever. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, I mean, on so many levels, I mean, like you told me, I'm real. And, I think that's a double-edged sword, you know what I mean? Because if you tell the truth and you're real, then you're labeled that you're an asshole. You know what I mean? Or, you don't have the best interests of the boys, or you don't, you know what I mean? Like, or whatever, you know what I mean? In my case, and that's something we're going to touch about that me and you just talked about I've treated it like a business for 21 years. So my mindset's a little bit different, so that's something that these guys got to understand, and I'm curious, I'll be honest with you. I'm curious on how many of them are wrestlers / promoters, owners, bookers, because I think that kind of changes the mindset a little bit. Like in my case, I'm not competing for a spot now. You know what I mean? All my stuff's behind the scenes. I'm an owner and a promoter and a booker. You know what I mean? So I'm not.
That's interesting. But I do like how you lay that out there. The demographic of who's going to be joining us in that time. You talk about how you've worn all those hats, carried all, chopped all that wood, carried all those buckets of water for all these years. Maybe somebody that we're not necessarily saying that as the owner, as someone involved, you have to do all of that, but we're hoping that, through this conversation, if maybe you're in the office side and you're worried about the money, the HR, whatever that case might be, if you will, ask those questions, because you're going to get that advice. You're going to get those learning opportunities, no matter what it might be. I mean, it might be somebody that is more focused on, ring crew, organizing arrangements with the building owners, things like that. Again, nothing off the table here, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, because I'm here looking at some of the things that I jotted down that other people were asking. The biggest mistake, that most promoters make, venue relationships, sponsorships, upgrading your ring and your lights, social media behavior, ticket sales, keeping talent happy, and paying dues. Like I could write a book on all that. You know what I mean? So, but that's just little things that we're going to cover. But I'll be honest, I really want to get, I really want to get the, some feedback from people that genuinely have questions or concerns, because there may be a promoter out there that's tried to do it a certain way and maybe it didn't work. So maybe we can offer him an alternative. I even give you a good example, of like posters and stuff like that. I hear all these guys, they're talking about, hey, I got this poster and it was, $2.50 or whatever, and it's great looking. And I'm like, man, I can get you those same posters for 25 cents a piece. You know what I mean? Because all that money adds up at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Like, I really want to touch base on, the sponsorship stuff or whatever, because, a couple of my sponsors, it's in trade. You know what I mean? Like, it's not in physical cash. You know what I mean? That's stuff that maybe someone hasn't really thought of, of going, to the little mom and pop pizza place, and be like, hey, I'll advertise your mom and pop pizza place or whatever. If you put, posters on, for the show, or you give us a discount on pizza or whatever that we sell at the live show or whatever, you know what I mean? Or, the local t-shirt guy that does t-shirts or whatever, I mean, like that's stuff that, over, every single show year after year after year, that stuff, that money adds up. It don't necessarily have to be physical cash. So that's stuff that, I really want to talk about, because I hear all the time, like, I had a guy the other day, he's contacting me about being a sponsor, and I told him what our sponsorships were. And he was like, man, you guys are that cheap. And I said, I don't want you for one show. I want you for every show for 10 years. You know what I mean? Like, don't take that big lump sum of money right now. You know what I mean? Like, take that, divide it by a third and be like, hey, I can advertise your show for this amount of money. You know what I mean? But hey, if you sign on for 10 shows, I'll drop it by another $50 or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of the sponsors, that I've dealt with over the years, they can't write me a $5,000 check. You know what I mean? Like, I hear some of these amounts of, people. I seen one the other day. This guy wanted $2,500 for basically 5 shows. I'm like, what?
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know anybody. Maybe it's a demographics thing. Maybe, in some other place. And that's another thing I wanted to stress too, like, use bits and pieces of what I'm saying and tap that into your demographic where you live at, because the prices of stuff here may not be what they are in New York City or Las Vegas or Florida or, wherever, you know what I mean? So take what I'm saying, you know what I mean? And use that demographics of people, you know what I mean? That you reach out to, but yeah, man, I think it's going to be a great time.
It'll go almost up against that 7 o'clock hour. So we're going to do one more time, ladies and gentlemen, after the Q&A is officially open. Those are going to be joining us throughout the show. Drop your questions there. If you'd like to join us on here, just let us know in the comments. I will send you a link to join us here. If not, we'll get them up on the screen for you. It's a real simple deal. Just appear just like this. My aunt's stepping in saying hello to me right there. But her name is down there. That's where your question would be. So you can pitch that there. Big Tom will field that for you. We're looking at, 60, 90 minutes to field as much as we can. Again, carrying everything across the board. Nothing off limits here. We're hoping to.
I should have shaved. I look like a bum.
Hey, it's show week there in Lima, ladies and gentlemen. So he is on that double hustle. Is Big Tom over there. But I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to hit the countdown clock on the back side of it. We're going to officially kick things off here. Again, Q&A is open. Everybody out there, hey, share the link here, Hamin Media Group on YouTube. We want to get as many people following us throughout this evening, have a great conversation, get people coming in here. We are filling up already. Looking for a lot good conversation. I'm going to give it just a few more minutes here Tom, as we're really getting a rush here. So hopefully we got some people lining up some good questions again. If you'd like to join us on air, we got plenty of screen room. Love to have you on. Really engage with you. If you got some questions you'd like to come on with us, let us know. I'll send you the link. If not, questions in the comments, perfectly okay. We're going to be going on that here for 60 to 90 minutes, answering all your questions about promoting pro wrestling. It's totally open. Big time Q&A. We're going to go ahead and hit it. We're going to hit countdown. We will see everybody on the other side for the official start of what is going to be one hell of an evening here. All right, in association with the Hamin Media Group, 27 years in the business of professional wrestling, a talent, booker, promoter, owner. The man has not only done it all, but he has found success at the highest levels. And tonight, yes, right now, right here, he is completely pulling back the curtain. No questions off limits. This is Promoting Pro Wrestling 101 Q&A with Big Time Williams of War Wrestling. Welcome to your show, Big Time.
Thanks, man. How are you?
Doing great. And it's so excited to sit down. And since you pitched this out here, I was fumbling to get to my phone. Let me be the first one that contacts him to try to put this together to help him reach the masses. I think it's such an incredible concept that you got here. As you said, there's no blueprint for what you do.
Yeah, I mean, you talked, off the air before over the years. It's just, we all got ideas and we all got, opinions and thoughts and this that, and the other, or whatever. But over the last, I'll say 20 years or so, it's like, deja vu or hidden secrets or whatever, where no one wants to share anyone's success and things like that or whatever. And I just feel like I'm at a point where I've been doing this for 27 years, 21 as an owner, promoter, and a booker. And 2023 was actually my most successful year to date in pro wrestling. So I was treading water like everyone else for 20 some years. And so I wanted to open it up, because it seems like, someone told me, I think it was a few weeks ago, it might even been a couple months ago, that there's over 700 independent professional wrestling promotions in the United States.
I would think that's a low ball. I'd say there might be that here in Ohio.
I'm not going there. But even if that's a low ball, that's 700 people that got their own ideas, their own thoughts, their own opinions on what success is, failure is. And so, if someone can come along that can kind of like, help them a little bit and maybe show them a little bit of a different side, maybe I can be that guy. I don't feel like I'm going to expose anything, or, it's some top level, secret service, information. But me and you've talked off the air before, like I don't see myself as a success. You know what I mean? If my peers say I'm seen as a success, then I'm totally okay with that. But, I still, grind it out show after show after show. I still worry about the bills being paid. I worry about the fans showing up. I worry about, taking care of the ring crew. So, that aspect of it or whatever is something I feel like everybody worries about it. You know what I mean? So I'm not immune to any of that. You know what I mean? A lot of the newer guys, they don't, me and you talked off the air of, a lot of the newer guys, they only see the success. of, us with a new sound system or new lighting or this and that. They don't see, that our very first show was, walking out of a black curtain with no lights and, a crappy sound system. And, they don't see none of that stuff or whatever. So, that's something where I want to be able to help these guys, share some of my success or whatever, some of the things that we've done over the years, some ideas on how to improve their ring, how to improve, their presentation, dealing, like me and you talked about, like sponsors and all that sort of thing or whatever, so, you opening this up to the masses and, and people wanting to know these sort of things or whatever. And, it coming from me, it's still kind of mind blowing, to a degree, because like I said, I don't look at myself as anything special other than, I'll be honest, other than I've stood the test of time. You know what I mean? I will say that I've done this for 27 years. I'm 50 years old now. I still do the grind. I still do the setup and the tear down, and I still do all those sort of things. And I've wore every single hat, from ticket taker to, manager, promoter, owner, booker. I mean, most guys don't even realize this unless they work for me. I'm actually the sound guy at our show.
Oh, very,
I'm
very
literally,
nice.
like, I literally run every single guy that comes out our curtain or a girl comes out our curtain. I am the sound guy. I am literally, it's me and my lighting guy in the gorilla position. And that's literally, literally me. You know what I mean? And I'm the owner, promoter, and the booker, but I'm still also the sound guy. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, like I said, I seen some people saying hi and this, that, and the other. I definitely, well, there you go. There's one said they see me at Revolver. There you go. See, he's laughing because guess what? At Revolver, I'm the sound guy. So there you go. I mean, that's just me. But I want to be honest with guys. I was telling you this earlier. Like, I don't want anybody to have a perceived notion or, that I'm cocky and I'm arrogant and, I'm this and I'm that. That's just, I want things a certain way. Because at the end of the day, it's, I still live in the hometown where we run, and I want guys to act accordingly. And that's where, coming into play with like sponsors and being part of the community. I'm very involved in the community. You know what I mean? Like, like we've donated over $500,000 to the local community over the last 20 years through ticket sales and fundraisers and stuff like that or whatever. So, that's stuff where, I feel like a lot of other promoters don't grasp that aspect of it or whatever. They don't grasp the aspect of the community, of doing a fundraiser and, running good solid shows or whatever, where you can kids. Go ahead.
So I'm not, I was going to say, not to cut you off there, but we got a question rolling here. And I think this fits perfect here. We were kind of talking about how we want the flow. We're just going to kind of just feel them as they come in with the
Yep.
people that are joining us here. But you're talking about community. You're talking about building those relationships. This is perfect timing from the ETWA Pro Wrestling. Their question here: sponsors are still my downfall. Still doing this out of our own pockets for 30 years running. Any advice on approaching new sponsors and conducting cashless deals would be appreciated.
Actually, it's funny. We just talked about that off the air. I'll be honest with you guys, man. If you've been doing this for 30 years, then you know people that know you on a personal level. And to me, the people that know you on a personal level are going to be the ones that believe in you the most. That if you went to them and said, "Hey, so if they don't, run or own or manage a comic book store or a laundromat or a tattoo shop or a pizza place or a t-shirt place or anything like that, they're the ones that are going to know you on a personal level. So be like, hey, this is what we're doing for the community. Would you want to be involved? Two of my biggest sponsors, and I know this is why you said this was a good thing because we were just talking about this. Two of my biggest sponsors are non-cash deals. I have a pizza place. They have supported me for years and years and years. They donate pizzas to every single one of our shows. They donate anywhere between 12 to 16 pizzas every single show. and then we sell that for $2.50 a slice, and there's 8 slices in each pizza. So you're talking almost $20 a pizza. So if you get 15 pizzas, that's $350 profit right there. He's getting something out of it. You're getting something out of it. You can even go so far as to ask them if they're willing to put flyers on the pizza boxes. We've done that for years and years and years.
An old school trick, but so effective. You think about
Yeah,
the
I mean,
distribution.
because here's the thing, like you don't know who's ordering the pizza, but guess what? They might see that pizza box flyer and be like, oh, hey, we've even put coupons on our mini flyers or whatever for that pizza. Like, hey, return this flyer or whatever, and you get $3 off. You know what I mean? Because guess what? That's a returning customer for the pizza place too. You know what I mean? T-shirts, for instance. Here's a great example that I do. I have a T-shirt guy. He's been with me for over a decade, probably closer to 15 years. Every single show we do, we come out with a new T-shirt, and he donates anywhere between 15 and 20 of those shirts for free that we can end up selling for $15 a piece. So let's just say he donates 20 shirts of that back to us. You know what I mean? And
What's a typical order though? So like you ordering 30 to 50 of that?
I typically order in. Probably my lowest order would be like 36.
Okay, so essentially almost half.
Yeah, almost half. But he'll donate 15 or 20 shirts of those back to me or whatever, and then we sell those for $15 a piece, or two for 25 or whatever. But that's free and clear money. You know what I mean? Like, it's advertising your show. It's advertising his business because, you can give him a quick shout out. Hey, these shirts are courtesy of, Donnelly Design Studio in Lima, Ohio. Like if you're interested in getting custom made shirts, boom, then he's getting something out of that. So little things like that, a lot of guys don't think about it, and don't go into it wanting a lot of money. You know what I mean? Like, go, if you can secure a big, huge sponsor, that's cool. You know what I mean? Like, but I'll be the first one to tell you, I've been doing this for 21 years, and the most money I've ever gotten from a sponsor for one show, probably, I think, was like $1,500. And that was our biggest show of the year. That was our biggest show of the year, where we go all out with the, new lighting and new staging, and it's our WrestleMania moment, but that guy knew me on a personal level. I would say if it's like a cold call, where you don't really know that person, sell yourself, say, hey, I live in this community, or, I work in this community, one of the big things, like for us, we donate tickets to the special needs groups in the area. And a lot of the businesses know that, so, when I go to them and I'll be like, hey, would you be interested in buying 10 tickets to our show or whatever? And we'll donate those 10 tickets or whatever to, the Marymore, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, all these other groups that we've worked with over the years. Most of them are like, yeah, because it gets their name out there or whatever. And then those kids can come to the shows for free, and, it's just about building a rapport with all the people that know you. Like I said, on the cold call thing, you got to be able to sell yourself and what you offer the community in order for them to give you money, and you gotta prove yourself. Let's just say the first time you do it, it's $75, and then a year from now, you hit him up again and it's $150. You know what I mean? Like, all those add up. 10 sponsors at, I don't know, 10 sponsors that say $100 is $1,000. Well, $1,000 pays my building money, pays my rent on my building. But that's also 10 businesses that are getting something out of it. That's also 10 businesses that are holding, showing your posters and talking about it and that sort of thing or whatever, So, to me, it's all about that. I've seen his comment saying he's been running for 30 years and out of pocket. I'll be very honest with you, I made a decision about 17 years ago that we would never go out of pocket to run a show. And I'm very, very blessed in those 17 years that we have not put in one red cent of our own money. And it's strictly because I've had a budget. I stuck to that budget. I don't go $1 over that budget. If I go over $1 over that budget, then there's consequences to that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying like
30 years, maybe after 30 years, maybe there's a level of comfort maybe that they don't have to approach maybe some of those individuals that they met? How
Oh,
would you
absolutely,
how would you coach
absolutely.
them through? How would you coach them through something like that?
You know, I think it's just, you gotta go out of your comfort zone. You know what I mean? Like, like, I'll be honest with you, we just did this thing last show or whatever where they was having a Christmas party in downtown Lima, Ohio, and my PR girl. Yes, I have a public relations girl because I'm not politically correct. But she got a hold of us and she was like, "Hey, you guys need to go downtown, give out some tickets, this and the other, whatever." And we did. We just, we gave out some tickets. Like, I'll be honest with a lot of guys. There's been a stigma over the years of comping tickets. I've heard, bits and pieces about people comping tickets and this, that, and the other. And I'll be honest with you, if you in your heart of hearts feel your show is good enough and that they'll return, there's nothing wrong with a comp ticket. Just don't comp ticket. Just don't give them a comp ticket the next time. Because here's the reality of that. Once they get a comp ticket, they're always going to want a comp ticket.
Right.
Don't. You know what I mean?
First one's free. Then you hook them.
Yeah, and I tell everybody that all the time. I'm like, listen, man, like I mean, I can even, I even sent out a letter to the ones that all the groups that that we deal with. I got 6 or 7 groups that I donate tickets to and have for years and years and years. So don't think there's a stigma on that. You know what I mean? Like, if as long as you believe in your product enough or whatever, and that the talent in the ring and the customer service is there, that's the one thing, like, I stress to a lot of guys, like, starting the show on time. Here's a small thing: start the show on time. Well, no, that promoter thinks an extra 100 people is going to show up 5 minutes before the show or 5 minutes after the show. No, they're not. Because guess what? The NFL, the NBA, the Major League Baseball, NHL hockey, they're not starting the show at 7:05 or whatever because they expect another 5,000 people to show up. I mean, be realistic. You know what I mean? Like, start the show on time. If your show's supposed to start at 7:00, start the show at 7:00. Because guess what? It's all about customer service. Have people up front that knows what the hell's going on or whatever. Don't have Billy Bob, Joe Bob, whatever, that doesn't know nothing from nothing. Have a staff up front that knows what's going on, that can take payments, that can take cash, that can take credit card, that can do all those little things or whatever, that can answer the phone. Ask anybody that's been to our show, I have ushers that come to work for me, that are a part of our show, that has a seating chart with every single person's name on it for VIP. They escort the fans to their seats. If a new fan doesn't know what section A, B, C, and D is, or what row 1 is, or what row 2 is, whatever, we have a seating chart. We treat it like you talked about. We treat this like a business. You know what I mean? Like, it's all about the fans' perspective of what they want the first time. If you got a very first time fan ever coming to the show, you know what I mean? Like, go above and beyond. Go above and beyond for them. You know what I mean? Ask them questions or whatever. My wife works out front. You know what I mean? I got 4 girls out front that take tickets, take payments, that interact with the fans or whatever. An hour and a half before the show starts, my staff interacts with the fans. You know what I mean? And answers questions and does all of that. You know what I mean? And every single person on my staff knows what's going on. I don't know. Like I said, I just, the sponsorship stuff and all of that or whatever, you just got to, here's the thing. You might get 10 no's, then you might get 1 yes. So it never hurts. It never, ever hurts to be told no. Because if you didn't try, I've been told no. One of my best friends, actually, last anniversary show, one of my best friends that I've known for over 40 years, he told me that he couldn't financially afford to be a sponsor. He's like, man, I hate telling you this or whatever, but he told me no. That's the very first time he's ever told me no. And the craziest shit ever is I could see it in his eyes that he was deeply hurt that he told me no. But guess what? I do it every day. I tell people no every single day. You know what I mean? Like, there's just certain things that I'm not willing to do. You know what I mean? But I say stick with the mom and pop people that know you. You know what I mean? And stick with the people that know you on a personal level or whatever, And if on the flip side of that, honestly, if you don't know them, then you got to go above and beyond for them. You know what I mean? You got to give them some tickets. Donate. Here's the thing. Give them 4 tickets to come to the next show. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't hurt to get for them to physically see it. Because here's the thing, most casual people, casual wrestling fans, owners, business owners, whatever, their perception of what wrestling is and what wrestling really is two completely different worlds.
You'll have them calling you, asking you to take money, telling you what an amazing time they had to be there live
Yeah,
for you. You see it.
yeah.
I've never
I
had
got one
anyone like,
sponsor.
that was terrible.
Yeah,
That was terrible. I hated it.
yeah. I mean, I got people. I got a sponsor, and they've been with me for years. I got a sponsor. He literally is like, when I come to the shows, I just like watching the people. He's like, I could care less about the wrestling. He's like, I want to see the interaction with the people getting so pissed off. You know what I mean? And this, that, and the other. Like, he don't even care about the wrestling. He's like, I just come to watch people. He's like, it's like sitting at the mall. You know what I mean? What people watching? You know what I mean? So,
Tom, you were talking. Tom, you were talking about giving the fans, things that they want. And your friend there talked about just watching the reaction and how the crowd gets involved. We do have a question here from Derek Piles, who works with a few promotions here in the Southern Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky area. And he wants to know about how important are storylines within indie wrestling and retaining that audience and getting that excitement. Are people coming for the stories? Are people coming for the bell to bell? I want to see rope work, baby. Move sets.
I'll be totally honest with you. To me, it's 100% an emotional connection. An emotional connection is what brings the people back. Any trained professional can do the moves. I'll give you a great story personally from myself. When I first started, before the days of Super Indie, we had Truth Martini, Danny Daniels, Nigel McGuinness, Matt Stryker, Chad Collier, Alex Shelley, Jimmy Jacobs, the blah, 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 Super Indie guys before there was Indie, okay? And as God is my witness, I seen a 5-star match, which was Nigel McGuinness, I believe, it was either Nigel McGuinness versus Chris Sabin or one of those combinations of those Super Indie guys. And all the guys in the locker room were at the video screen and, picking out any nook and cranny to watch this match. And it was a great match from a wrestling standpoint. From an entertainment standpoint, no one gave a shit. The very next match was two big fat hillbillies who Chuck Wagon and Maynard Arneck, they're from up in Michigan. Maynard Arneck is a smaller of the two, but Chuck Wagon has ever bit 450 pounds, and he did a splash off the top rope and squashed this guy like a bug. The place went ballistic. Blew the roof off the building, okay? The very next show, they had signs that said, "Fly, pig, fly," and they couldn't wait to see this dude or whatever. But guess what? What he did in the ring was entertaining. It wasn't wrestling, There you go. Old Chuck, haven't seen him in forever. And to me, the storylines, if you can get fans emotionally connected to what the product you're putting out, they will buy a ticket every single show because they want to see the ending. No one remembers the moves. No one remembers the matches. They remember that emotional connection. And I'm a little bit different because the wrestling business has changed a little bit, but I'll kind of put it in perspective to people. We run storylines. Year to year. And our biggest show of the year is our WrestleMania. Okay, that's our WrestleMania. We break everything out for that. Last year,
that's your anniversary show, correct?
That's our anniversary show, right? Last year, we had 293 VIPs that paid $25 a ticket to see what the hell was going to be the ending of our storylines and our angles.
Wow.
Think about that. 293. So just in VIP, we had over $6,000 in ticket sales because people wanted to see what was going to happen for those angles and storylines and emotional connection and this, that, and the other. They wanted to see a cage match. They wanted to see all of that. So to me, angles and storylines. Now, can you have a great 5-star match or whatever? Absolutely. you know, uh, the wrestling business to me has changed a little bit. You can have that flippity flip match. You can have the big 300-pound guys. You can have a comedy match. You can have all those sort of things or whatever. Because, what is it one fan's cup of tea may not be another fan's cup of tea. And what I mean by that is, you know, uh, you know, some people use the analogy of flavors, 31 flavors of ice cream or whatever. I got some fans, they want to see the comedy. I got other fans that want to see the 200-300-pound guys beat the crap out of each other. I got some fans that want to see the flippity flip match, but to me personally, I think we've stood the test of time for over 20 years because of angles and storylines and the talent that we bring in. They look the part, they act the part, they're gimmick oriented. I have very, very few guys, and some guys may get pissed off at me saying this, but I got very, very few guys that are just pro wrestlers. If that makes sense.
Absolutely. I think this is an interesting point here. Nathaniel Hart asking. I think storylines matter, but it also depends on your the demographics in attendance, your targeted fans.
Oh, absolutely. I agree. I wholeheartedly agree with that. If you're doing a bar show, or something like that in a bar, I see that it's like some of these promotions now are doing shows in breweries or whatever. So yeah, absolutely. I definitely think of demographics. I think from city to city matters, state to state matters. Find what works for you guys. You know what I mean? Like I said, I was telling Rich this earlier. Like my big thing is like I'm just going to give you my thoughts, ideas, and opinions, and you can take it with a grain of salt, or you can say that I'm the biggest asshole in the world. I'm cool with that, but at least open up a dialogue, with sponsors, even open up a dialogue with your fans. You know what I mean? The fans are the ones paying the bills. So ask them what they want to see. You know what I mean? Like, I see this all the time. And maybe I'm the minority in all of this, but I see guys are like, hey, what would you like to see? And all of a sudden it's this guy that nobody knows, but he's hot on the super indies, and they book this guy for $500 in a plane ticket, and he gets to the show and he doesn't draw flies with shit. You know what I mean? Like, listen, don't buy into that, guys. Like, don't buy into it. Like, I'm just being honest and real with you guys or whatever. I've used the super indie guys. Like, I used Colt Cabana in my opening match, and everybody gave me shit because I used Colt Cabana in my opening match. They were like, "Oh my god!"
I got a piggyback question on this as well here.
Okay, but I legit had guys, be like, "Oh my god, why are you using Colt Cabana in your opening match?" And I said, "Because my fans have no idea who in the hell Colt Cabana is. So he's just another guy on the show."
FEW, about your venue. We're going to get to that in just a moment, but I want to slide this one here because it pertains to what we're talking about here. Doug Powell's back with a question here. So it's kind of perfect what you're saying here. Is it a good idea to bring in a name for each show?
Absolutely not. You want my honest opinion? No. Take that money that you're going to use to pay that name that ain't going to draw you anything, okay, and pay the talent a little bit more money. Buy lights that you might need.
Or get your street team more motivated to help locally to get people in.
Yeah, like listen, I'm not gonna sit here because I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I'm gonna be blunt, and anybody that knows me on a personal level, I've used names. I used Jerry King Lawler. I've used Test. I've used Tommy Dreamer. I've used Al Snow. I've used all those guys over the years or whatever, and not one red cent of that money was ever my money. I had a sponsor that wanted them to see them, and they covered it. Guess what? Not one of them ever drew me what their asking price was. Now, there's going to be guys.
I think that's fair with a lot of budgets that your indies are running on that don't have that disposable. Yeah.
I mean, I'm being honest with you. If Jerry King Lawler wants $2,500, that's $20. Let's just say he wants $2,500. I don't know what the hell he wants, but let's just say he wants that. That's at $15 a ticket. He's got to draw you minimum 200 fans. That's $3,000, right? Theoretically, if you're paying him $2,500 in a paying ticket, that's $3,000. right? He's got to draw you an extra 200 fans just to pay for him to come there and sign an autograph or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, build your own guys. You know, I tell people this all the time, and I'm going to tell you guys a great story, and some of these guys may have heard me say it over the years. I met Buff Bagwell in Indiana at a show. Everybody knows Buff Bagwell likes to party, and everybody knows that, you know, Buff is Buff.
Never
It is
heard
what
that.
it is. Yeah, it is what it is. But here's the reality of it. So one of my boys or whatever and him went out partying, this, that, and the other, or whatever. Well, 2 weeks before our show, he sends us a message and he's like, "Hey, my show got canceled. Would you all be interested in using me?" I'm like, "No, our show's already booked." "Oh, brother, come on, man. You know, blah, 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 blah." And I'm like, no, the show's booked. He's like, "Man, I got some frequent flyer miles or whatever. I'll fly myself up there or whatever for gimmicks." Now, mind you, this is a long time ago. And I'm not saying it's like this year. And I'm like, whatever, dude, you know. So we do this show, and he's doing a run-in with the local guy that's with him. He's making us save this up a 6-man tag. Buff is Buff. He comes out, he does this thing or whatever. They go out and make this save, and they're cheering the local guy more than they're cheering him. And he looks over to the local guy and says, "They don't even know who in the hell I am." But guess what? The local guy, we built him as a star. He was a star. He was no different than what any fan sees on Monday night, Thursday night, Friday night, Sunday, whatever. That guy was local, and we built him up to be a legitimate star. And not one fan ever questioned it. Now, you know what I mean? So I'm a little bit different, man. Like I said, I don't think a name will draw you what their asking price is. I truly don't. You know what I mean? Like now, will that draw in the casual fan? Yes. Now, if you can get a sponsor on board and you know what I mean, it's a tax write-off for them or whatever, you know, or they're the ultimate mark for, you know, whoever, cool. But if you got to dig in your own pocket or whatever to pay a name, you're probably not going to get a return on investment. You're probably not. I'm just being honest and blunt
Very
about
good
that.
question here coming from FEW, saying my venue holds 400. I'm averaging 65 per show in my first year. You mentioned comp tickets. Is there a certain percentage of venue capacity that I should comp?
If your venue holds 400, I think you could easily get away with comping
65 in the first year.
Right, first year. I'd say honestly, in my honest opinion, don't comp individuals, comp groups. Like the local Boy Scouts, the local Girl Scouts, the people, you know, that are also in the community or whatever, you know. I would say you could easily comp 50. Because you got to look at it from this aspect.
We had another comment too that kind of plays into this, to give the special needs and any groups, really, especially youth groups, they need to come with somebody.
I mean, one of our biggest groups or whatever is Marymore, which is the MRDD kids. You know, like absolutely. I would say you could easily do 50, because here's the way you got to look at that. That's 50 people. Let's just say you count 50 and let's say 30 of them show up. Let's just say 30 of them show up. They're still buying concessions. They're still buying merchandise. They're still doing all those things or whatever. You know what I mean? So, and guess what? If your show is good enough, you might get 20 of them to return next time that are going to pay full price for a ticket. So it's all about building that. It's all about building, building that rapport with the community or whatever. Like I said, I don't comp tickets to any individuals, period. I mean, I didn't even comp my own family and my own mother. My mother went to the ticket outlets and stood in line with the fans. Like, sorry, you know, you want to come to the show and watch the show, you're buying a ticket. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to be mean, but you know, and it was that way forever and ever and ever. You know what I mean? Like, I never comp tickets to individual people, you know, like my best friends or my mom or my grandma or anybody like that. We always dealt with the groups. Like I said, MRDD groups, Marymore, like here, you know, like the group homes, the special needs kids or whatever, you know, like all them groups or whatever, you know, like the community we run in. I tell people this all the time. The community we're running in the inner city of Lima, Ohio, 75% of those kids are on government assistance of some sorts. So, they get the free lunches and they get all that or whatever. So I'm really, really involved with all of that and showing the kids, there's a different way. Giving the parents, a night out. I'll never forget this as long as I live. I actually had one of our ticket outlets used to be Regali's Pizza Village, and I had one of the waitresses call me one time, and she's in tears. And she said, man, she's like, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, what are you going on? I thought, like they got robbed or something. You know what I mean? I didn't know. And she's like, man, I got this family here or whatever, and they really want tickets to the show. But I overheard them talking during dinner or whatever that they didn't have enough money, that they were going to take their electric bill and to buy tickets to the show. And I said, well, how many kids do they have? And she said, oh, they got like 5 kids and then a mom and a dad, and they all want to come. Now, mind you, this was like when tickets were like $8 for like general admission or something like that. And I said, I'll tell you what. I said, tell the mom and the dad they can pay for their tickets. I'll comp tickets to all the kids. And she was like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah. And that guy came to the show. He had a great time with his family and this and the other. And he thanked me. And I said, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I said, I don't want your kids to look at you any different, because I know that's your one and only night of the month out or whatever, and you need a place to stay at the end of the night. You need gas, water, and electric, whatever, blah, 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 blah. I said, I want those kids to look at you like mom and dad are superheroes because they took us to live pro wrestling. And you know what? That dude, the very next show, he paid it forward. And he bought his tickets, his kids' tickets, and then like their friends' tickets. He just was having a bad month. But guess what? Why me as a promoter? Why should I prevent that family from having a great time? You know what I mean? Like, it's not always about money.
Well,
A
you
lot of
just
people don't
created a lifelong
understand.
bond.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And that's the biggest thing I tell people all the time. Like, if you're stealing from Peter to pay Paul to run a wrestling show, this probably isn't the business for you. You know what I mean? Like, I can sit here and tell you flat out, one time in 20 years, I mixed some personal money with wrestling money. And I regret it to this day. Okay. I don't do that now. You know what I mean? Like, 17 years, we've been self-sufficient as a company, and, we don't use personal money to run shows. But guess what? When you build that community rapport and you build that fan base to know what you've done in the community, we did bowling. Now think about this. When you talk about the community, we did bowling with the wrestlers. Okay. Where the bowling alley donated the lanes. We did a wrestling personality on the lanes. Fans paid to come and watch us bowl or bowl with them or whatever. We raised enough money in one night that we bought a semi truckload worth of food for the Veterans Food Pantry here in town.
That's awesome.
And it's all about building that rapport and building that community. The last 3 fundraisers we've done have been in a little town called Coldwater, Ohio. It's about 45 minutes from here. The last 3 ones that we've done, we've handed families, mind you, 3 different families total. We handed them $21,000 after every single expense was paid for the show. And that included all of the wrestlers being paid, all the staff being paid. Because we went out into the community and got sponsors, because we built a rapport over the years with these sponsors and with these people that, hey, if we're going to do a community thing and a fundraiser for whatever, the money's going to go to these families, and here's the crazy thing. When I handed them, I can remember this plain as day. The very first family we ever did one for was a little girl that had cancer. I handed that family $8,800 cash money at the end of the night. For that family, we counted all the money, 50-50, the whole shebang. They got $8,800 cash. And she just looked at him. She was like, I never in my wildest dreams thought that pro wrestling would help my family this much. And guess what? That's the best feeling you could ever have in the world, that you can do something that you love, pro wrestling, and you can help somebody that had I won't say negative, because they weren't negative. They just was unsure of like how much money they were actually going to get. So yeah, you know what I mean? Like I said, man, I'm getting a little bit off base on a couple things here and there, whatever, but I want people, I keep going back to the community. I keep going back, I'm huge, man. I'm huge in the community. I've been stopped in the local Walmart and the older guy had a Vietnam veteran hat, and he's like, "Hey," I had a War Wrestling shirt on. Of course, I'm a human billboard for War Wrestling, and he looked at me and he said, "Hey, are you Big Tom?" I'm like, "Yes, sir." And he's like, "Well, I just want to thank you because at the end of the month or whatever, when you guys donate money or donate tickets or whatever." He's like, there's months where, I got to decide on if I'm getting food from the veteran, from the pantry or whatever, or if I can pay my electric bill. And, with your guys' donations, I can do both.
That's awesome.
Like you can't duplicate that feeling. You know what I mean? Like you can't duplicate that feeling, of
And,
being
and
able to help.
that good word, that good nature, that good presence spreads throughout the community, helps you grow your audience. At the top, let's switch gears back here real quick. We had a question we were talking about, bringing in the bigger names, if you will, if it's move sets, if it's characters, storytelling. Chris Kernahan coming back with a question here, wanting to know, talking about, you had mentioned, Tom, about building the connection with your characters and the storylines. How do you handle the storylines with a lack of dependability of talent? So I mean, when you're working, and you said, you tell a story throughout the year, you have your season, things unfold, you set your dates early. How do you go about locking these individuals into? I need you for X amount of dates. Instead of people saying, "Well, I can't make that. I can't make that trip, boss. Maybe I'll get you next 2 times around or something." Can we
Right,
carry
right,
that
right, right,
over?
right. I'll be honest with a lot of guys. From a promoting standpoint or promoter standpoint, I say, make sure that you pay the talent what you promised to pay them. You give them an atmosphere that they want to be involved in. They want to work there. And you also, provide food and water for the locker room. Little things like that seem to matter. Start the show on time. Make sure that guy knows, that he's going to be wrestling. This
You're
month
doing
he's
this
wrestling
thing.
Aaron.
How short is your leash with someone that's, hey, come on, boss. I can't make that one. Let's run this maybe in a couple of weeks or something, a couple of months or.
I'll be honest with you. I have a saying, and some of my people behind the scenes know this. We have plans A through Z plus 1, 2, and 3. And what I mean by that is if your roster is diverse enough and the talent level that you're using is good enough, you can get away with not having a guy there this show or whatever, and he comes back 2 shows. You know what I mean? Like as long as you've built that in that. Now, granted, there is some guys. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I got some guys that they'll be like, "Hey, I got an opportunity. I'm not gonna be able to make it or whatever." I mean, it is what it is. But I still feel at the end of the day, as long as your talent is good enough and you got a diverse enough roster or whatever that you can insert wrestler A for wrestler B and you're still okay. You just got to be able to think long term on what that payoff's going to be.
Can,
I mean,
can
does that
you
make
share some?
sense?
Yep. Can you share some quick strategies maybe to booking the build of the wrestlers up? Does it vary by case to case, or do you kind of have a blueprint, or things are going to work?
I think it goes back to thinking long term. I'll give you my strategy. Here's my strategy or whatever on booking shows, and this is War 101 right here. This is the way we do things. Last year, our anniversary show was on May 20th. That was our anniversary show for 2000 whatever. So from May 2023 all the way from the last year's anniversary show, so you're looking at a year. We already knew what we was going to do for the payoff in 2023, and it started in 2022. We already know who we're using, what we want to use, the matches we want to do or whatever in 2023 for that payoff or whatever. And we build that all the way up for, it might even just be a slight, angle. I mean, that they see on one show or whatever, you know what I mean? But the payoffs normally is anywhere between 6 and 7 shows where we build up the angles and the storylines or whatever, for all of that. So in my case or whatever, I know what we want to do for like our anniversary show this year is in June. It's June 1st. We already knew what we wanted to do June 1st a year ago. Now, granted, some of the names may change, some of the faces may change because it's pro wrestling. Guys might get a hangnail or they're their shoot job, time changed or whatever, or injury. One of my main guys is injured right now. Mojo McQueen has been out since the last anniversary show or whatever because he got hurt. He's theoretically been out will end up being out for almost a year. He was our main babyface. So things happen. You know what I mean? You just got to be diverse enough with your talent and diverse enough with your ideas going forward. Like I said, we had plans A through Z plus 1, 2, and 3. You know what I mean? I have 2 other guys that help me book, and we can change on the fly. As long as you present it to the fans in a professional manner and in a believable manner. I honestly sit there, and for our fan base, they still believe in pro wrestling. So they believe in pro wrestling. You know what I mean? So they'll buy if so and so gets hurt or whatever, and we insert a new guy into that spot or whatever. You know what I mean? So it's a little bit different, man. Like I said, every promotion's different. Every city and state is different. Like I said, I still think I'm still a believer in, as long as the talent level is good. Most guys are diversified enough in the, professionally, that they can make anything work.
Yes. I got a question here from the ETWA Pro Wrestling. Do you film your events? What is the best option for post-production? So a question there for like YouTube, IWTV. Is post-production even worth the effort?
I will be 100% blunt in this conversation. I'm not the guy for that. That is actually the one thing that I do not handle is any of the YouTube stuff. I will say the IWTV thing or whatever, to me, and I've watched a ton of it, it's 99% an ego boost and 99% stroking yourself, saying that you have IWTV. Most of those promotions don't get more than 100 hits. But if you want to run around saying, oh my God, I'm on IWTV and blah, 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 blah. Okay, go for it. You know what I mean? I will sit here and tell you this. Our stuff is shot professionally. Our stuff is shot for mainly the guys. We do have a YouTube show, this, that, and the other, or whatever. I don't handle any of that. That is the one aspect that I don't handle anything on our show. I'm very, very old school in my thought process that I still worry about what the live fans experience and the live fans that are actually at our show, not some guy in Alabama that wants to be a pro wrestling critic or whatever that thinks my show sucks. Okay. So I don't, I'm being honest and blunt.
Because I was thinking about maybe how I could twist, to get you maybe open a little bit of this, but I see where you're going here. It's more of, as you said, you're a traditionalist, old school, very old school. So especially on this indie level where everybody thinks I'm going to be the WWE, my product needs to be seen. This is the approach of, if you're putting it out there everywhere, it's just not, you're not really patting yourself on the back. You're not getting yourself over because, as you said, some, absolute smart inside the bubble is going to critique everything and Alabama can watch it. You're also giving that same opportunity to the people within a driving radius of you that can just turn on their computer and watch your product instead of coming and experiencing and spending money at the venue.
Yeah. I tell people all the time, and I know I'm going to get heat for saying this. I've watched some of the super indie stuff or whatever that everyone raves about. Everyone raves about it. Oh, it's the best thing since sliced bread. God himself came into the ring and, he killed 10 people and the fans loved it. You know what I mean? I've seen it all. I've watched it all. But here's the reality of it, guys. And I'm going to be very, very, very blunt with you guys. And like I said, I'll probably get heat for saying this. For 20 years, I've outdrew 99% of the super indies. And I've made more money than 99% of the people on the super indies. Okay? That's being blunt and honest, because guess what? I keep the shit real. I give my fans what they want. I give the sponsors what they want. And we've stood the test of time. Okay? There's only 3 or 4 promotions that can consistently outdraw us. And I could care less. Okay? That's being honest. Worry about your community. Worry about your fan base. Worry about your sponsors. Those are the 3 things that I will tell you to do. Worry about your talent. Make sure your talent is taken care of. It costs me $250, $300 to feed my whole staff and all my wrestlers or whatever every single show. To have water there, to have food there for all of them or whatever. We're having like Subway subs this show or whatever, and my mother-in-law is making all of the desserts, and we got veggies and dip, and we got all that stuff and water and blah 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 and all that. Okay, cool. We do it every single show that we do. Okay, worry about your sponsors or whatever. Make sure that that sponsor that gave you that $300 or whatever, you're giving him every single thing that he needs. Make sure those fans have a great time. Customer service. Make sure they're having a great time. Ask them questions and make sure they have a good time or whatever. Make sure that, there's no downtime in between the matches. You know what I mean? You never give them time to think about, oh my God, this is wrong, or oh my God, that is wrong. No, it's one match right after another, right after another, right after another. Quit worrying about, if you're running a promotion, quit worrying about what so-and-so is doing in Delaware if that's never going to apply to you in Lima, Ohio. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't understand. Like, listen.
It's fair. It's fair enough on it. It's worry about your own, putting people in your building, supporting your product.
I'm being honest, man. Like, I'll give you a great example. Here's a great example, and I know a couple people are going to say this. I go down and work for Sammy Callahan, okay, in Dayton, Ohio. It's an hour away from me. I run his sound for him, okay. He draws what we draw. He just has a different audience that are willing to pay what they're willing to pay. And he has a TV deal and he has all those things or whatever. But guess what? Has anybody ever approached Sammy Callahan and asked him what he had to do to get those deals and all that stuff or whatever? The dude works his ass off or whatever to draw what he draws and have the things that he has or whatever. It's not magically came to him. Like, nothing's ever magically came to me either, guys. The week of a show, I put in 60 hours a week or whatever to build our show. You know what I mean? Like, I'm at the building. I'm up at 9:00 in the morning or whatever. Tomorrow, here's a great example. Tomorrow, we loaded 2 U-Hauls worth of stuff to do our show tomorrow on Friday. And then I'm at the venue or whatever, and we set it all up, tear it all down, do the show, do all this, that, and the other or whatever. But guess what? No one sees the other 25 hours that I put in this week or whatever, making sure that everything's done, making sure that the tickets are there, making sure the concessions is there, making sure the programs are there. No one sees that stuff, guys. So here's the reality of it. If you're not willing to sacrifice and sacrifice and sacrifice and sacrifice, it's not magically going to happen to you for anybody. You know what I mean? Like, I know people are gonna say I'm jaded, I'm bitter, and I'm this and I'm that. You know what I mean? But just worry about yourself. Worry about your fan base, your sponsors, and your talent. That's the easiest thing to do. I mean, if you covered those 3 bases, I'm being honest and blunt here. If you 100% covered those 3 bases and you have a long-term goal in this business, you're gonna be a success.
You just sound like one of those old crotchety guys that's out of touch, Tom.
Oh, I am. I'm yeah. Me and G, I helped build the ark and I owe Jesus $5. I'm out of reality, but here's the reality of it all. I paid my building, which is $1,000 off of profits that we made last month. I have all the change and everything else or whatever for this upcoming show. $2,500 worth of change for the show for 50-50 and gimmicks and concessions and door money and all of that or whatever from the previous show. You know what I mean? Like, there's been shows where I've never even touched any of our sponsor money or whatever, and I've had all the payroll done and I've had this done and all of that, and it's strictly because I worry about my community, my talent, my fan base, and our sponsors. I don't worry about what happens anywhere else. You know what I mean? Like I said, I just don't worry about it. You know what I mean? Like, people can say I'm arrogant, and I've made this comment before, and I got a lot of heat. The only promotion I would ever be worried about, and maybe this is 5 or 6 years ago, the only promotion I would ever be worried about would be the WWE. Now it'd be AEW or whatever. I'm not worried about what anybody else is doing. I'm worried about what we're doing and what we're providing for our hometown and our home base and our fans and our sponsors. And I want to treat the wrestlers as best as I can. I pay everybody. I even pay my ring crew. That's something like a lot of people don't understand. Like, my ring crew or whatever, every single person that works our show is paid to be there. Our whole ring crew is paid. Our whole staff is paid. You know, here's a great example. This upcoming show, which is a Saturday, just wrestlers, valets, TV people, all that stuff that I got going on. I got 31 people on payroll or whatever, and I got another 25 staff.
Everybody's getting paid.
Everyone gets paid.
Got another creative question here for you here. Creative committee, single booker.
Well, actually, this is actually a really good question because we're actually transitioning right now.
I thought you had something going on there in that in that department there. So
I got two guys that we bounce ideas back and forth or whatever off of each other, hours on end. We usually try to meet once a month, for long-term stuff or whatever. And I'm actually stepping back from the creative side because of my side business that I'm doing now. It's kind of taking up a lot of my time. It turned into a full-time job, but that's a different story for a different day. But I say this, and I'm a little bit different. The guy paying the bills should have the final say. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I mean, it's pretty much how any business ultimately works that way, correct?
I mean, I just tell people like that, like theoretically, use this analogy. The only guy that can't get fired on the show is the guy that's paying the bills. Same way with booking. You know what I mean? Like I said, I'm stepping back this year from booking. Majority of the shows, I have the final say. I've always had the final say. We bounce ideas and off of each other, but for 20 years, I was the sole booker. I'm stepping back from that. It is absolutely okay to get other guys' ideas and opinions and thoughts and all of that. But I'm old school, and my thought is if I'm the one paying the bills, I want the final say. So if it flops, then can't nobody point fingers and be like, oh my God, you gave me the worst idea ever, blah, 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 blah. You suck, you're fired. I'm the guy with the money. So, you know what I mean? There's been ideas that's came across the years that, I thought was a great idea and then crashed and burned in front of my face. But I guess it just depends on what kind of control, now I will say this, if there's money partners involved and this and that, that's where things get a little bit hairy or whatever, because it seems to be like, if you got multiple people putting in money to run the shows, everybody wants their ego stroked. Everybody wants say. Everybody wants their buddy to be on the show or their girlfriend to be a valet or whatever. You know what I mean? I'm very, very blessed in the aspect of it, as I was 100% the money guy for the last few years. Well, I'd say more than a few years, decade and a half. We did have some business partners when we first started, where they just didn't pay their share, that sort of thing or whatever. But I would say it's up to the individual people. You know what I mean? I'm a little bit softer than the way I used to be about things. But I'll be honest with you guys. I try to get as much input from the talent. I ask the talent all the time. I have a group chat with all of our current talent or whatever, and I always ask them, hey, send me ideas and or storylines and angles or whatever, because guess what? Like if the talent is comfortable enough to come to bat for you for an idea, then they're comfortable enough to do it in the ring and they're more at ease, with it. So I'm all about the talent having as much say as possible, as far as angles and storylines and all of that. I will also say this, and I'm a little bit different in my thought process. If you need a certain talent, ask your current talent. And what I mean by that is if you have, they're your best recruits. Because here's why. This is the way it works for me. Okay, I'm kind of giving away some secrets here. This is the way it works. If I need a certain guy, I'm not going to YouTube to watch Johnny Come Lately, whatever, do 450 splashes off the top rope or whatever. I could give two shits less about all of that. Or what
you don't have in your notes at the fair show in August, we need a guy that can do a 450 while on fire?
No. No, hell no. No,
you are old school, man. You are old school.
Man, listen, if I'm going to set myself on fire, that'd be the only way it gets No, hell no. But listen, I'm gonna be honest with guys here. I'm being honest and blunt, kind of giving away a thing. I ask our talent, here's why. They know my ground rules, they know the way I work, they know my mindset or whatever. So when I reach out to our talent and be like, hey, I need a guy for this or whatever, and he has to be an old school heel. Ding, ding, ding. Oh, we got somebody. I'm cool with that because guess what? Now, if the guy comes and he's a goof, that has reflection on the guy that recommended him. So most guys aren't going to recommend the warm bodies, the driving buddy, and all that other BS or whatever that you find, oh, I can bring a carload. 99% of the time when you bring a carload, that means you got 2 good workers out of 6, and the other ones are just there because they want to hang out and call themselves pro wrestlers. Now, I'm not buying that BS. I don't need a carload. If I'm looking for one guy, I don't need a carload. You know what I mean? Like, you just be honest and real with the talent or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, like I said, I know this is probably going to create, this whole conversations are going to create heat and people are going to be pissed off at me, but be honest and real, man. Like, go to your current talent. You know what I mean? They're not going to steer you wrong if they already know the ground rules. I'll give you a great example. I have ground rules. No drinking at my show. Like, no drinking. I don't care. I had a very, very, very well-known super indie guy. Now, granted, this has been quite a few years ago, but I had a very, very well-known super indie guy crack a beer open after his match at our show, and I fired him on the spot, and I've never used him again. I've never used the guy. He had a WWE contract. I fired him because he broke one of our rules. So same thing applies to your talent. If you need a certain, as a promoter or owner and a booker, if you need a certain talent, go to your current roster. Ask them, hey, do you have anybody or whatever that you would recommend? Because they're not going to recommend a goof. You know what I mean? Like, which, here's the thing. What's the dude down there for Denim Blivens or whatever, Battle on the Border, that Johnny whatever, knockout?
Oh, yeah, that knucklehead.
Yeah, that dude's a complete goof.
Took off with their belt and everything.
Yeah, that dude's a complete
last I heard, he was still locked up in one of the county joints down there in the
but that's what I'm saying. Like, you know what I mean? Like, nobody's going to be like, oh, my God, Denim, I need this guy or whatever. Let's recommend Johnny Knockout because everyone knows he was a goof. I mean, I'm being honest and real. You know what I mean? Like, go to your talent. If you set the ground rules with your talent that, hey, I need this guy for this situation or whatever, and don't bring me no warm bodies, don't bring me no goofs, don't bring me no ride-alongs, don't bring me none of that BS. They're going to bring you a great, solid talent. They're going to bring you someone that has a reflection on them. That's the thing. A great example, Mojo McQueen. He brought me Cody. I'm losing Cody Jones and Paloma Star. He brought me, Shane Foster. He brought me guys or whatever that our fans absolutely love. Kid Hybrid or Orlando Christopher. You know what I mean? Like, he was brought in way back in the day with Jimmy Jacobs and those guys or whatever through Truth Martini. You know what I mean? Like, Danny Daniels, who was in ECW and runs AAW, he brought me guys like, Hardcore Craig and Brandon Blaze and all that because he knew what we was doing and what we was about. Like, 99% of the guys that we use right now is at a recommendation of someone that we previously used. I very, very, very seldom ever bring in anybody that I've never seen or that one of the boys hasn't went to bat for.
I like this question here. It's a follow-up from ETWA Pro Wrestling. Big time, you said you weren't exactly a fan of, the streaming on YouTube or, pro wrestling TV, whatever the case might be. But this here, does post-production, I'm going to add to this, not just help with storylines, but does any kind of post-production, you say you do film it, but I mean, does it help to draw people to the next show, to grow the brand, the audience, the awareness? Vignettes, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. We've been cutting promos the last, for the next show from the previous show for like the last, 6 or 7 shows or whatever. We kind of got our own little step and repeat banner, courtesy of my company. But, that's a different story. But But no, I mean, I think that goes back to the post production of vignettes, on social media. If you have a good following, I think we got like 10,000 followers or whatever on our business page. So we've been posting the vignettes and the promos and all that sort of stuff or whatever, and it has sparked a lot of interest. I'll be honest with you, I was just looking at uh, over our social media today. We got like 4 or 5 new fans that bought tickets to our previous show that have never been to our show. When I went back and looked, they had made a comment or watched the vignette or the promo for a certain match, and all of that or whatever. So I definitely think if you can have the show booked ahead of time and know who is working who and that sort of thing or whatever, I definitely think that it can definitely help the post-production side of it or whatever, a vignette, a story, it can further a storyline. I actually seen a promotion just the other day, because that's one thing people don't realize or whatever. I watch a lot of stuff or whatever. I just, I pick and choose my battles, because some of it just gives me a headache. But I seen a thing the other day where, they had a video screen and, that they played it for the live fans of someone that wasn't at the show. But, he said he was going to come to the next show and he was going to beat, so-and-so's ass, and that continued the storyline. Maybe that guy had a previous booking or whatever and he couldn't make that show. You know what I mean? So, to me, that's a cool thing, like, having the post-production and the video screens and all of that. We're actually, even ourselves, we're going to start doing more of the post-production stuff to show the fans that are currently at the live shows. We're going to start doing that ourselves. Like I'm buying a big, huge video wall, and it's going to be like 12 foot by whatever, I don't know, 8 foot or whatever, a video wall that we're going to buy that's going to play vignettes or whatever to continue storylines and angles and all of that or whatever. But it goes back to what we talked about the angles and the storylines, like I wouldn't do one if it's just a random match between two guys. You know what I mean? Like, but every promotion's different. You know what I mean? Like, ask your fans. Like, there's no wrong. Do a survey. Like, I don't know. Like
I was had it in my mind. I was going to put it in a mental back down there for you, but you mentioned it here. You got some good stats and facts on your audience. A portion of how many, you just said this is going to be the first time coming here. The repeat faces. I'm sure the demographic of male to female, the age groups like that. Do you have a routine that you go out and question those, or is that kind of just an observation that you have?
In my case, it's an observation, but the one good thing is I got about 3 people, about 4 people actually that after each show I go to, and they'd be like, "Hey, did you hear anything negative? Did you hear anything that they liked? Anything that you disliked? Did you hear that first time fan saying anything or whatever? To me, it's just one of those things where just it doesn't hurt to ask questions. Like. Even I don't know, do a simple thing because I know we did this back in the day. We haven't done it for quite a few years, but when we was trying to garner our audience on raising ticket prices or something like that, we did like a questionnaire and we printed it out and we asked the fans to do like their name and their email address or whatever. And what we did is we said, hey, if you guys fill this out or whatever, you'll be in a drawing for 2 free tickets to the next show or whatever it was. And I think we ended up getting like 125 people, that filled it out. And it gave us some good input of, what they liked, what they disliked, concessions.
I really like that. I mean, you can figure out what they like at concessions. I think you can even go further there, big time, with asking them, what stores do you shop at? What sorts of services do you use in the community? That lets you target sponsors and gives you a hard stat. Hey, we know it just so happens we surveyed our audience at the last show, and 80% of them come to your grocery store.
Yep.
Or something.
Well, I'm gonna throw out a stat or whatever that most people don't understand, or I throw out for every comp ticket that we've ever comped, we probably get at minimum $5 back every time. Minimum. Minimum. So if you know, because here's the thing, we keep it affordable. We got families that come to our show and that's their night out, and they're treating it like going to the movie theater. You know what I mean? They'll buy a whole pizza and they'll buy drinks, and we keep everything affordable. We don't, some of it we don't make hardly anything off of it or whatever, but other things, I can sit here and tell you right now, on our typical show, if we draw 400 people, roughly around 400 people, we'll sell $2,500 in concessions every show. That's profit. That's nice. Profit. So think about that.
FEW, this also kind of is what we're talking about here. My main focus for 2024 is building my female fan base. Right now it's 80-20. Obviously that's 80% male, 20 female. They would like to get that to 60-40. When you're looking at growing a demographic, Big Tom, well, what's some strategies that you can suggest here?
Have more hot chicks wrestling.
Well, they want females in the audience.
I'm telling you, book more females to get more females. Something that they can relate to. Or book the guy that looks like a stripper. I mean, you know what I mean? He's got a valid point there. You know what I mean? He does. He has that's a very, very good question. Like, man, that's a very good question.
I think exactly what you nailed it there. It kind of threw me when you said the hot females. But right now, there is a trend where, obviously, as much as people want to try to deny it or how they want to put a verbiage on it, sex still sells. People want to be relatable. They want to, live vicariously through these individuals. So, but if you could put a strong, powerful female in that spot, they're going to be extra relatable to them, especially the female.
Audience. Absolutely.
I can actually with you guys. How does your female audience react to? And it seems, from what I can see, that she's one of your top pulls there. Your draws is Jexy.
Yes. Well, here's the thing. She's perceived as a powerful female that's controlling a bunch of males. You know what I mean? Like most women would like to have be able to control 4 or 5 males. You know what I mean? Like, be realistic about it. You know what I mean? Like, we've portrayed her like that. And I'll give you a couple great examples of this too. Well, something that I've done, and I don't want to say I gotta get my verbiage here right. One thing that I did over the last couple of years or whatever is I booked the girls as pro wrestlers, not female pro wrestlers. Our fan base don't see the difference between a Paloma Star and a Heather Owens to a Carson Drake and a Mojo McLean. We've had an example where, Heather Owens a few years ago, there was a beat down in the middle of the ring, and the very first thing that the fans were cheering was Heather Owens' name. You know what I mean? Like, we built her up that she was a legitimate star and a legitimate wrestler, and they didn't look at her that she was a female. You know what I mean? Like, she just didn't. It wasn't that. I'll give you a great example of portraying and giving the girls the time to shine. It was it 2 years ago or 3 years ago? Heather Owens was feuding with Paloma Star, and they were in a bloodbath storyline. The fans absolutely loved it. I mean, Cody Jones and Paloma Star were hated to the point where they were getting death threats from our fan base. I'm talking legitimate death threats. This ain't no kayfabe.
I'm laughing because I believe it. And I've seen those two work. Very talented.
They were legitimately hated to where people were waiting for them in the parking lot. Okay. And we did a storyline and an angle with Heather Owens and Paloma. And we went into our year-end anniversary show. We had an idea of a main event. And those girls made every single person in that storyline, in that angle, the fans, they made everybody believe, where they ended up main eventing our biggest show of the year in front of 700 people in a steel cage. Now, here's the kicker to all that, guys. They worked their ass off. They were perceived as if they were professional wrestlers or whatever. And the fans even knew that Heather Owens was retiring at the end of that match regardless. Okay, not one fan gave a shit. Those girls busted their ass. They were perceived that they were pro wrestlers or whatever. There's a big, huge difference with there, guys. I'm gonna be honest and blunt, and I may get some heat for saying this. Book the girls not for their assets. Book the girls for the talent in the ring. Because guess what? If I wanted to hand that girl that's got the big boobies and this, that, and the other or whatever, and the only reason because you're a perverted, fool, gonna hand her a wad of money to look at her tits and her ass and not that's what she's doing in the ring, guess what? Hand that money to your wife or your girlfriend, and you'll have a lot better time. Okay? I'm being honest and blunt here, guys. I see it every single day. Book the girls that want to be there. Book the girls that want to be wrestlers. Book the girls that aren't coming there because they think you're a perverted fool and they want to soak you dry for $300 or $400 because that just don't fly. You know what I'm saying? Book the girl, like I said, I'm going to get heat for saying that, but it's the truth. The truth of the matter is any girl that's ever worked for me, I booked them because they're a pro wrestler. I got Rachel Armstrong coming in this show. I got, Heather Owens is coming back. Shauna Reed's coming back. Paloma Star's coming back. All those girls work for me or whatever, and I look at them as they're just pro wrestlers. I don't look at them as anything other than that or whatever, and I respect them. I respect them as pro wrestlers. Ask Paloma Star. She'll be the first one to tell you. I love that girl to death. I would do anything for her. I actually went when she was doing a play out in Chicago. And me and my wife drove out there to see her and Cody or whatever on our own dime or whatever because, she's busted her ass for me for years. And I wanted to see her in her play that she did. You know what I mean? I say if you're going to want that demographic to change, then you just got to book, the guy that looks like a stripper or just book good female talent that those other girls that can relate to. Paloma Star is a great example. I did an all-girls show a few years ago. And my nieces are both younger, and they both absolutely loved Paloma. They loved Paloma. They got their picture taken with Paloma. They did all of that. And Paloma was a bad guy. She was a bad guy. But for some odd reason, she connected with both my nieces and got their picture taken with them or whatever. And I asked Lainey and Sam, why did you like them? And they were like, she was just cool. Her outfit looked good. She looks big and strong and, she looks like a wrestler, and, that's the key to it all. You know what I mean? But that's a very good question, man. Ask your fans. It goes back to the survey thing. Ask your fans.
I would like to add one more on that. Hey, Tom kind of alluded towards there. If you're using a regular, stable roster of female talents, see if they'll get out in the community with you and do some PR. Go to the dance troops, to the gymnastics, to the Girl Scouts, something like that, and try to make a connection and see if you can sell those group tickets to bring that in for your audience. We got a two-part question here as they kind of threw it in. Robin's asking. Go ahead. I'll let you finish real quick.
Well, go ahead. Go right ahead.
Okay, so we'll go here. Robin, obviously, each show builds to a main event. How do you determine which match goes where on the show? But right behind that, we had somebody to piggyback off of that question. Do you have rules for specific matches on the card? Like, I know some shows don't allow the first match to do certain spots.
The way that I book the shows, my opening match is probably one of my top 3 matches on the entire card. And actually, last show, let me think, last show or the show before, I think it was last show, I had Brandon Day versus Jack Price. And Jack Price has got a TNA contract. And they actually opened up our show because I felt that was one of the better matches on the show. It wasn't a matter of who had the belt or, the champ going first or anything. It's just, that sets the tone for the rest of the show. The opening match sets, especially if you're a first-time fan. If you put out your snooze fest or whatever where the guys are going to go out there and do a headlock match, you know what I mean, in the opening thing, and you got a first-time fan there, they might be turned off from it. You know what I mean? So when I book the shows, I typically book one of our top 3 matches, the very first, and then I usually book the match before intermission is usually a crowd pleaser, like one of the baby faces or whatever, goes over strong. look at each match that it's a chapter in a book. You got highs and lows, telling the stories, you got that wave effect, I usually book my second match is usually the match where there ain't really any storylines or angles. It might be two newer guys or whatever on the show or whatever. And if everybody else has done their job, on the card, most fans won't remember the second match. I mean, that may sound mean, but you know what I mean. Like, if it's just two new guys, or there really ain't any angles or storylines getting involved, I try not to book a multi-man match and a tag match back to back, or two tag matches back to back, or anything like that. I try not to do that or whatever. Like I said, I go into each match looking at it as it's an intermission, or not an intermission, a chapter in a book. So the opening match, sets the tone for the rest of the card. Second match or whatever is, maybe a character development, or, something, like I said, two new guys working each other. The third match, is usually, a good hard hitting match, or a good tag match, just keeping things flowing. That's one of my big pet peeves in pro wrestling. I've watched some stuff lately, and there's literally, 4 or 5 minutes between each match, between, the guy, but I also book our cards curtain to curtain too. And what I mean by that is, the referees have a watch. I have a stopwatch or whatever. I give the guys their times, and, the referees know, that they're curtain to curtain. So, if, say, for instance, Silas Young wants to go old school and he want to hear the whole Journey song like he did back in the day, that's 3 minutes of his time. You know what I mean? Like, sorry about your luck, kid. So yeah, I mean, I think in that aspect or whatever, that's the way I book our shows. And I will say this, let me take a drink real quick because I'm getting ready to cough.
Or is there to kind of piggyback on that? What about protecting certain spots? Do you lay out, hey, these moves are off limits in certain matches?
We've done that. We've done that. Josh Mayer, who's one of the guys that helps me behind the scenes. Give me one sec. Sorry, guys, I'm fighting a sinus infection. Josh Mayer is one of the guys that works, and we also have a monitor in the back too. Like a 55-inch monitor or whatever that's hooked up with the camera. So, if guys, do a finish and the other guys are going to do that, then they can watch. We usually ask for the finish and that type of thing or whatever, just so you don't duplicate it. I'll give you a good example. We try not to do like back-to-back matches that have submissions in them. Little things like that, you know what I mean? Little things like that, like if you see a guy doing a guillotine or whatever, choke or whatever, or, whatever, submission move or whatever, you don't want to duplicate that in the very next match. You know what I mean? You don't want to duplicate, another submission. But I think a lot of that has to just do with the talent that you're using, like, I'll be honest, I don't want to see 45 super kicks and, none of that stuff or whatever, but I use the analogy of this and maybe, a light bulb moment for some guys. My job is to give everybody a blank canvas and then give them bullet points to make sure that they can get it across for the fans in attendance to where they'll buy tickets the next time. And it's the guys' job to paint that picture of what we want to get those returning fans to come back and buy a ticket the next time. I don't micromanage. I'm not asking the guys to do every single move, or, I'm not giving them a big, long, huge, essay of what I want move for move or anything like that. I just feel like at the end of the day, if you're using professionals and you're using guys that understand the business, then you shouldn't have to micromanage them. One thing I will stress, and this will kind of go into my thinking when I book shows, is I absolutely hate putting two rookies in the ring together. How do you expect them to get any better if they're working a guy that's on the same level as them? They're not going to learn anything. You know what I mean? So, I very, very seldom ever put like two rookies together. It's actually one of my pet peeves in pro wrestling is, booking two green kids against each other. They're not going to get any better. I usually try to book some veteran guys to go against the younger kids, so that way. But I'm open book, man. Like I said, I got 3 guys behind the scenes. I got some locker room leaders, that oversee things and watch things. And, like I said, we have a monitor in the back and that sort of thing or whatever, but, really other than that, I really, I'm not too, I don't want to see, like I said, roll ups. I don't want to see a bunch of roll ups or whatever, that sort of thing or whatever. If a guy does a power bomb in the match as a finish, I don't want to see that in another match for a setup move for a kick out. Sorry, guys.
Before that coughing, hey, we've been at it here, pushing that 90-minute mark. So before that coughing fit takes over, how about it seems we're dwindling down here. Let's do one more on this round of Q&A with you here. We got this one. We'll close on this. A very open-ended, great way to close this session. How would you build if you were starting with nothing today?
Ooh. Actually, it's funny because someone asked me that, and I said, don't do it.
I think actually they had mentioned that
it was him.
They asked you this on Facebook. Hey, I'll share this real quick. When I was getting into promoting, and I had a little unfair advantage, I got to sit down with something just like we're doing now with Rip Rogers. And, I am nervous as could be. I am terrified. I'm sitting here with Rip Rogers, the guy that's made so many names, one of the greatest trainers that's ever graced wrestling. And I get, fat ass, whatever amount of money that you have saved to do this, just go buy yourself a gun and 1 bullet. Oh, and then leave the rest of that money to me. That's what he told me to do. I said,
I'll be
buy a gun and 1 bullet.
Yeah, I'll be very blunt when I say this. If I was starting over from scratch, I probably would attend a local show and just offer to help. Help out and see what goes on behind the scenes, or what it takes, and that sort of thing or whatever. I would do my homework. I would do research, of what it takes. I told a kid, which Aaron, I believe it was Aaron that asked us that question, right? Mm-hmm. Was it Aaron that asked us that?
Yep. Yes, sir.
Okay. So,
okay, it was me. It was me.
Well, Aaron will know this because it actually has something to do with some of the people that he knows. I helped a kid up in Toledo, Ohio, start a promotion, and he came to my very first show, and I made him cry. That's being blunt. By the time he left, and I pretty much gave him the riot act of, you're a dumbass, you don't need to do this, you're not in wrestling, blah, 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 blah. He kept coming back, and he kept wanting to learn, and he kept coming back, and he kept wanting to learn. And I finally told him, I said, well, all right, when is your first show? He told me. I said, all right. I said, I'll help you out as much as I can. I'll teach you everything that I can teach you. I'll teach you how to get sponsors. I'll teach you how to book guys. I'll do all this, that, and the other, blah, 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 blah. I'll do it all. I'll help you. And the very first show he ever ran, he drew 350 people and got $5,000 in sponsors. And it's strictly because he listened and he came to somebody that has previously done it. So to answer your question, Aaron, don't ask a guy to build you a house unless he's a carpenter. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Go to somebody that has done it. Go to somebody that is going to not blow the smoke up your ass. Go to somebody that isn't going to, tell you what you want to hear. Go to somebody. I mean, I'll be blunt. Come to somebody like me. I can remember this plain as day. I had a kid come to me. His name was Chris. He came to me and he's like, man, I really want to be in pro wrestling. He's like, this is all I ever wanted, all I ever want to do. I live, breathe pro wrestling, blah, 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 blah. And this kid came and I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, this kid's clueless. I said, but I said, come to the next show, bring your mom and dad. And he's like, what do you mean? I said, bring your mom and your dad. You're 17 years old. You're getting ready to graduate high school or whatever. So his mom and dad comes, and this kid comes, and they were like, what the hell are we doing here, type thing. And I looked at that kid point blank in his eyes, and I said, I'm gonna tell you one thing, and you need to do this. And then if you decide you will still want to do pro wrestling after that, then I'll welcome you with open arms. I said, you need to graduate from high school. You need to go get a college education. And the mom looked at me and smiled. The dad looked at me like, I ain't paying for that shit. You know what I mean? But my point of it is I didn't blow smoke up this kid's butt. You know what I mean? I was honest with the kid, and I was blunt with him. People don't understand. I've lost my house and everything over pro wrestling or whatever because I buy into all the smoke and mirrors that all these guys told me over the years or whatever, guys that lived with me for years and years and years and didn't pay a dime. You know what I mean? That, so-and-so is going to help you and this, that, and the other. And then, their boat came and they left me high and dry and I lost my house and everything over pro wrestling. So, to answer his question, go to the promoters in the promotions that you see as being a success and ask them what they're willing, to teach you and willing to show you or whatever. It's not necessarily about money. I give guys a great example of this, and this is kind of why I like doing the podcast, and I like being honest and blunt with people. When War Wrestling started, I've told the story 100 times. It was because I was pissed off at the HWA, which was Les Thatcher at the time, that had a developmental deal. They came to Lima, Ohio, and wanted to run a show. Okay. They sought out the three local guys that they knew or whatever, which was me, Dexter Dementia, and Dusty Dillinger. We were the three local guys. Okay. They sought us out. They said, hey, can you help us promote? You need to do this, whatever, blah, 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 blah. They drew 150 people with the WWE name attached to them or whatever. Okay. They treated us like dog shit. We were the opening match. They shit all over us. They told us that if we weren't trained, we need to go to Ohio Valley or the HWA and train, blah, 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 blah. Well, mind you, all three of us were trained with Al Snow. Okay, cool. You're in his hometown, whatever. But my point of it is we took that negative and turned it into a positive, and that's where War Wrestling came into play or whatever, where all we had was wrestling and respect. The very first show, after pounding the pavement, getting sponsors, turning every stone, over that we could possibly do to draw in a good crowd, the very, very first show that we ever drew was 541 fans. So I don't know what it's like, guys, to draw 50 people. And I'm not saying that to be cocky or arrogant. I'm not. I'm saying we did everything that we could possibly do to draw in the crowd. And now here we are 21 years later doing our 500 and some show or whatever, because we believed in what we were doing. We did what we needed to do to build up the fan base, to build up the community, to build up the sponsors, to build up the wrestlers or whatever. And here's the craziest shit ever, guys. And I told guys this earlier. I booked my buddies and my friends and the guys that booked me and Josh Blanchard and all those guys, whatever, back in the day, Mr. Fitness, Josh was one of the original OGs of War Wrestling, but we booked all those guys that were our buddies and our friends or whatever. And the first show was the Drizzling Shits, but we drew 541 people. So guess what? We have those standards to maintain even after 20 years later. You can ask anybody that ever knows me. If I draw less than 300 or 400 people, I'm pissed off because I know what it takes financially, emotionally, physically, all that stuff or whatever. And we stood the test of time. You know what I mean? Like, I'm an open book. If anybody's listening to this tonight or later wants to message me, hit me up on Facebook. Hit me up on social media. I will help you guys any way I can with ideas. If I'll be honest with you guys, I have a side company that does aprons and all this other stuff, whatever. If there's any promoters that listen to this tonight that wants a deal on some aprons to help your production or entrance curtain or whatever, reach out to me. I'll give you the best deal that I can ever give you guys or whatever to help your production, help the look and the feel of your promotion. I'll give you ideas on fixing your ring. I'll give you ideas on canvases. I'll do all that stuff to help you guys or whatever, make this a better business for every single person involved in it or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I've just done it, like I've done it for so long, like I work for Impact when they're local and I make really, really good money. I tell everybody, I'll rent my ring to everybody, but I'm not coming in for $200 or $300 because I'm your boy. I make $750 on a ring rental 2 hours away from my house or whatever, and another $500 for sound rental. So I'm making $1,250 just to leave my driveway or whatever. But I've built it up over the years that I can do that, and I'm willing to help you guys or whatever. So if anybody ever wants to reach out to me on social media, hit me up, guys. I know this hour and a half is
I
flew
was going to
by.
say, I said I was thinking about it. We've covered so much ground, great conversation, but hardly scratched the surface of so
Right.
much we could do. You're just talking about ring crew. We could probably spend a 90 minutes just on the ring, the entrance, the sound, all of that. If people out there, if you want some more of this, if you enjoyed this conversation, like to see us repeat this, maybe come in a different format, whatever the case might be, let us know. But most importantly, Big Tom, let them know exactly how to get a hold of you on social media.
Just look up War Wrestling, and if it's got our logo on it on social media or anything like that, anything that says War Ohio, War Wrestling. My side company is called Custom Pro Wrestling Products and More. It's on social media. Like I said, man, I'll give you guys the best deals that I can. If anybody's got any, needs anything answered as far as your ring, I mean, I've taken calls from Australia, Canada, all over about rings and stuff or whatever. That's kind of like my forte or whatever. I feel I'm pretty good at it. Um, Ed Gonzalez, who runs Squared Circle Expo, like he won't go to anybody else for his ring stuff. Like I bring a whole crew with me. They're good at what they do. And, like I said, I'm willing to help anybody better themselves, better their promotion. So I think honestly, man, you're right. We barely touched the surface on some things because I'm sitting here looking at my notes. I would like to, the whole paying dues and I'd like to touch the base on that. I would like to touch base, with like upgrading. I got some companies that I work with where, you can make monthly payments to get a better sound system. You know what I mean? I got companies that are willing to do that, guys. But I'm not going to hand it to you. You know what I mean? I want you guys to better yourselves, better the promotion, make the talent feel like they're stars. And I got all that information. I got two companies right now that take monthly payments to get a sound system, to get better mics, to do all those sort of things. I got another manufacturer in China that does all my lighting or whatever, where they'll work with you on lighting. They'll do all those sort of things. My company will, the Custom Pro Wrestling Products. I'll be honest with you guys. I'll give you the best price that I can give you to give you entrance curtains and aprons. I'll do all those sort of things. So we're definitely gonna just barely touch the surface tonight, guys. And I'm forever blessed that I've stood the test of time, and I'm very blessed that you guys want some of this information from an old guy like me. I'm blessed to have this format or whatever, and like I said, I picked Thursday, and I'll tell you how important this was to me tonight. And I told him this earlier. This is the first time in 20 years I've missed my wife bowling on a Thursday night. But it was that important to me to be able to give you guys the information that I feel all you guys deserve. Me and my wife have a great relationship. We've been together. January 14th, we'll be together for 33 years. So, for me to be able to miss bowling, her bowling night or whatever, she knew how important this was to me, and I knew how important this was for me to be able to give you guys this information. So thank you guys for asking questions and staying around. Thank you, Rick, for everything, man.
We could probably have the wife on for a Q&A about pro wrestling.
Oh, that'll just be one continuous beep, dude. Come on, it'll be like, "Hi, my name is Christine."
We're kicked off. We're kicked off YouTube. We already got enough strikes today, but I thank everybody for joining us, especially here on YouTube for the Hamin Media Group. Hey, if it's your first time with us, make sure you hit that like, that subscribe to pick up all of our awesome content. We've got some of the best pros. We were talking about Rip Rogers earlier. It's the Sons of Rip. They've all gone through OVW. They're going to give you a lot of tremendous insight. We do show reviews. We talk news, the happenings, developments, the business of the business. We got shows damn near every day of the week. I think the only day we don't have anything is Tuesday, but you can get that all here at the Hamin Media Group on YouTube or channelattitude.com. Big Tom, anything else you'd like to have before we get out of here for the evening?
Nah, man. Actually, to be honest with you, man, as soon as I get done here, I gotta start making the programs for the show and all the other little things that I do for the show or whatever. But like I said, if anybody wants a specific question answered or a specific question answered or whatever, hit me up. Or like I said, if you guys want to see this again, I'll be more than happy to help you guys or whatever. I know he's all about me being on social media and trying to get our information out. I mean, he sits there and name drops all these people, and then he asked me to be on it. So I don't understand, but it is what it is. But like I said, guys, I'm forever grateful. I thank you for guys for the opportunity, and we'll just see what the feedback is later on out of all of this, guys. And if you guys want more information, maybe we'll do it again here in the near future.
All right. Thank you, everybody out there again. Reach out to Tom. Reach out to me if you want to see us back at it. Let us know. Hey, but up and coming out this Saturday, Lima, Ohio, War is back at it. Big time main event. Newly signed to the NWA, Carson Drake going to be taking on Mr. Day up there in a big time match. But hopefully until later or over on social media, we will see you then.
Yes, sir.
Again, thank you for joining us right here at the Hamin Media Group. All right.